Welcome to another episode of That Crazy Triangle Guy. Um, you know, I've been listening to people today, and it's just amazing how these analysts and other people on YouTube and what have you simply don't understand what's going on with Bitcoin and what the price action is doing. Um, Here we are, Bitcoin 2012. We're on the weekly time frame. Uh, Bottomed out here, came up. What did we do right here with this wick? We retested this low right here. This wick right here tested this low, these support levels. And this whole base right here that we traded in tested this low right here, this low right here. We stayed sideways in a range for a long time, retesting these support levels. And we broke out, came up through the weekly Gaussian channel, came back down to test right here. And it appears we're testing the top of the Gaussian channel. We are not. We're testing these weekly candle bodies back here for support. After we retested them and held, then we climbed out and upwards. And that was really, this is in Bitcoin's infancy, and it's really an immature example, but still, uh, it follows the pattern of what Bitcoin does. Well, I guess it initially set the pattern. Here we are in 2015, 2016. From our double bottom here, came back up. What did we do right here? We retested this support level here. Came up through the Gaussian channel rather quickly after just spending a few weeks between the mean band and the upper portion of the channel, the top of the channel. Came back up here and down to retest what? Top of the Gaussian channel, perhaps, but also this wick right here. Let me open it up a little bit more. Tested that wick. So what we did here, we are very similar to what we did in 2015-16, but there are key differences. We spent very little time here in between the mean band of the weekly Gaussian channel and the top of the channel, and quickly whipped up or quickly pumped up here, moved up here, and then quickly back down to retest uh, the support level, top of the Gaussian channel, whatever you want to. Ultimately, we're retesting support back here. Um, and we did so before the channel turned green, before it started sloping back upwards. However, the move we made here, and I'm not going to go off of these wicks, I'm just going to go from about here. Let's just see. This move up here is to this top of this. Well, let's go to where most of the price action went up to. That's 110%. Um, so that's similar to what we've done recently, a little bit more. Anyway, we came back down quickly to retest those levels and then spent a considerable time going sideways, retesting this whole support system in here because let me get rid of that. Because it's a range. There's a range of support in this area. And that's what we retested back here in 2015 and 16. And once we did that thoroughly, broke out upwards and further consolidate and retest other key areas back in here of our previous high. Now, let's move on. Remember, well, I'll get into that some more later. Here we are in 2019, 2020, came up from our bottom. Now, note here from, let's say, this point here to the top, up there, that's 240%. That was a huge move, much bigger than 2015 and 16, and much bigger than what we are doing currently. And then came back down. Now, also, what we did here, we came way up here, didn't really test these levels back here at all. We went right past them, shot right past them up here, came back down to the Gaussian channel. Once we broke out of the Gaussian channel, we immediately came back down and tested it right here. So I guess you can say that we did test some of these upper support levels, but never came back down here to retest these key support levels. There was nothing at all whatsoever back here. We just shot right through. So after hanging out up here a while, came back down again to retest these upper ones, and the mean band of the Gaussian channel shot back up here, and then had the COVID crash. But regardless of COVID or not, we probably would have come back down at least to this level, to the bottom of the Gaussian channel here, to retest these support levels back here. And there's another reason why the price played out the way it did here, and I'll get into that in a minute. You know what? I'll get into it right now. No, I won't, because I'm on the weekly. I'm going to stay on the weekly. I need to go to the monthly to show you what I want to show you. So currently, we had our bottom here, coming back up off of our bottom, and came up here and spent a long time consolidating in this area from here all the way up to here. We spent a whole lot of time there testing these support levels, all these support levels from our previous high, previous bull market, whatever you want to call it. And currently, the weekly Gaussian channel is about to turn upwards and turn green. Probably next week it'll turn green. If not, the following week. But it looks like it's just about ready to turn. Now, remember how back in 2015 we came up through here, spent time above the Gaussian channel, then came back down later on to spend time consolidating sideways and testing, building a support level that tested the previous support levels. And we did it in reverse this time around. We spent a long time going sideways, testing our support levels, and then came up out of the channel to where we currently are and did the same thing. Came up out of the channel and back down to retest not only the top of the channel, but our ultimate low right here at 28.8. And we just did that. That's the reason for this dump. People are coming up with all sorts of crazy things, and they can't seem to understand why it's happening. Now, I expected us to immediately pump back up the next day. Also, that's been the kind of action that we've seen heading into the FOMC meetings, that we'd come down and pump back up anyway. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. We got a lot going on this week, so we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. But that's all we're doing. Let's see. Do I want to say anything else about this right now? Um, anyway, so since we went sideways here for a long time, for like from March until now, it's like March is 3. This is 4. Over 4 months of sideways action. We're ready to move up to the next level now. This has been thoroughly tested. Remember, we did this in reverse from 2015. So things are a little bit different. We're in a different place in the Gaussian channel. Look at, we went sideways here in the between the mean band and the top of the Gaussian channel, came up, retested before it turned green, ready to bounce. Now let's go back to 2015. We came up through the Gaussian channel, spent a little time here, came up, retested before it turned green, then spent a lot more time going sideways. And then moved up. I think we're right about here, ready to make this move. And I'm not saying that we're going to have such a drastic move, but we're going to have we've that's about 80%. I'm not saying that we're going to go up to 54,000 now, but I think 38,000 or so right now is can be reasonably expected. Um, Now let me quickly go to the monthly because that has what I wanted to show you. Oh, look at how big that is. We don't need that to be that big. And it's accumulation distribution. The reason why we had problems here back in 2020, we had this huge price increase, double. I guess it would be more than double what we had in 2015 and what we've had thus far in 2023 here. And look at the slope of the accumulation here during that period. It was unable to support the price action. It's shallow, it's very shallow, gradual. This was much steeper here in 2015 and even more steeper than that, at least the same. It looks like to be more steeper here currently, um, and should be able to support the price action that we're currently doing. By the way, let me go back to the weekly, which I never did measure. Uh, the weekly from our low to our high here is about 88%. So it's similar to 2015-16, just a little bit less, but very similar. So that's Bitcoin. I also wanted to briefly go over. So let's also look at this where we're at right now. I'd be concerned if we did go below 28.8. I mean, people are saying stuff like 28.2 and 27.5. Those are ridiculous numbers. If we go down there, uh, we're having problems with these support levels. And we're testing possibly support levels in here, which isn't necessary. And it wouldn't make sense. If we're doing that, then we have issues. 28.8 is what we need to hold. I mean, it would be, I guess it would be okay if we did that, but it's not a good sign. It's not a strong sign. We're ready to move up to 32, 33, and possibly then come back down and test this before moving upwards a little bit more to consolidate the next range up here. We go to the daily quickly here. And on the daily, you can see that we've also fallen into the daily Gaussian channel and finding support here on the mean band that is at, see that's at 28. Well, I can just go off the chart here. It's at 28.6 and moving upwards. So, I mean, we don't need to we don't need to touch it to find support on it. We don't need 28.8's fine. We're close enough. We don't even need to go anywhere near it. I mean, we could just wick into the top of the channel here and move on upwards. You don't need to necessarily touch any arbitrary lines. Like for instance, back here, we came into the channel. We didn't need to go down to the mean band, though ultimately later on we did. It's not necessary. And by the time we did, it was moving upwards. So even if we do here, and possibly in a couple days, this will have moved upwards closer to the 28.8 region. But I think we'll be bouncing before that. But with everything that's going on this week, we may get stuck here throughout the rest of the week, kind of just going sideways and up and down in a very small range. So let's go over here to the crypto market cap, the altcoin cap. This is the total market cap minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. I have it on the 12-hour right now because I've told you why. I don't like using the daily when I'm drawing my lines because you have these like ghost wicks that don't represent price action. So when I draw my lines, I like to use the hourly, some sort of hourly chart that doesn't have those non-price action wicks in there. And this line that I've drawn is the neckline of this inverse head and shoulders pattern here, marked by these three arcs. The target for this is from the base to the neckline, and I've brought that over here because I'm just assuming that we will break out of the neckline somewhere in this range, and that gives us a target of about 570 billion. And no, we're not going to shoot straight up there. Kind of do a little cha 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 there and over here. But now let me go on to the daily. And when I go on to the daily, you'll see all the noise that I'm talking about. Let me put this on auto. Oh, can't see it there. It's so small. Bum, 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 bum. So that target also coincides with previous support here. So that's a good spot to kind of stop and take a breather, consolidate, and maybe test this area for a while, or possibly up here for a while, uh, and build structure in there. Let's turn our Gaussian channel on here. We're on the daily now. That's not the Gaussian channel. It's moving averages. So the daily has just turned green, and just like Bitcoin, we've fallen into the top of the daily Gaussian channel a little bit. I don't expect us to hang out much here. The mean band is at 333, but I want to show you on the weekly. Um, and also here, you got to remember those ghost wicks I talked about. I kind of just don't really rely on this a lot. I mostly maybe rely on the candle bodies more than the wicks, but we don't want to go below the base of the weekly Gaussian channel here. We want to hold that as support, and currently that's at 336. So probably was the daily turning upwards? Yes, the daily is turning upwards here. So that's good. That in the bottom of the weekly Gaussian channel. If we continue to go sideways, we'll approach each other. So, well, that one's going to keep going down. Yeah, yeah, that one's going to keep going down. The other one's going to keep coming up. So they'll be approaching each other as we go sideways, which is good. And I expect to hold this level and bounce here. Really looking for a huge bounce. We've been consolidating sideways for so long in this entire market that we're ready for a move, a big move upwards, a big move one way or the other. And if it's a big move downwards, we're in trouble, and it just does not make any sense that that would happen. We're ready for a big move upward with all the institutions getting in right now, the ETFs coming. I mean, you can buy Bitcoin and Ethereum on Fidelity. This is the market to be in. A lot of people are going to, calling for a recession and wanting to scare you and all this other crap. Um, it's all a bunch of BS to try to get your money. What else did I want to go over here? Maybe I should just leave it there. Probably going to run out of time here. So, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you get notified because I publish videos randomly, and I want you to be notified of them when they do come out. And subscribe to the channel um, so that I pop up easily in your wherever you're at. Um, Anything else to talk about? Okay, we will see you next time. Thanks.